In January 1911, FDR starts his first term as state senator. 3 months later, the deplorable conditions of sweatshop labor are brought to the nation's attention. 148 persons, mainly women and children, are burned to death as a fire sweeps through the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory in New York City. The New York State Legislature immediately appoints a factory investigating committee, and when it introduces legislation favoring workmen's compensation and factory inspection laws, one of its most fervent supporters is the 29-year-old Franklin D. Roosevelt.
In the year 1911, Samuel Gompers, Robert F. Wagner, Alfred E. Smith, and I were labeled as radicals when we fought for and finally succeeded in passing a bill through the New York State Legislature limiting the work of women in industry to 54 hours a week.
Over the years, FDR's convictions grow stronger that workers have rights which should be protected by law. In 1928, he becomes governor of New York.
I call for legislation to guard the toilers in the factory and to ensure them a fair wage and protection from the dangers of their trades, to compensate them by adequate insurance for injuries received while working.
When FDR assumes the presidency in 1933, he begins by making an unprecedented appointment. As his Secretary of Labor, FDR appoints the first lady cabinet member in history, Frances Perkins. To a reporter who asks whether she will not find her sex a handicap, Miss Perkins replies, "Only in climbing trees." To assist economic recovery by raising the buying power of the American worker, FDR sponsors the passage of the National Industrial Recovery Act. The passage by Congress of the act arouses a storm of controversy. By the diehards, Roosevelt is a traitor to his class. He has never met a payroll in his life. He has no right to hold any opinion about labor. He doesn't know anything about it. The NRA simply isn't strong enough to enforce the rights of labor. And the Senate passes a bill introduced by Senator Robert F. Wagner of New York City on February 21st, 1935. On July 5th, it becomes a law. Officially called the National Labor Relations Bill, it provides supervised union elections in industrial plants. It creates a judicial board to weigh disputes between labor and management.
The National Labor Relations Act is now the law of the land. We shall see the dawn of a new era of peace and justice for all in our economic life.
In 1935, FDR turns his attention to the broader aspects of social welfare.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 30 million of our citizens who will reap direct benefits through unemployment compensation, through old age pensions, and through increased services for the protection of children and the prevention of ill health.
FDR's Social Security Act, overwhelmingly passed by Congress in the summer of 1935, provides unemployment and old age pensions as well as child-rearing benefits. Strengthened by favorable legislation and FDR's sweeping victory in 1936, the labor movement introduces a new form of strategy, the sit-down strike.
Sit-down strikes are unpopular. Strikers will finally realize that labor cannot get very far if it makes itself unpopular with the bulk of the population in this country.
Paula Reuther and the United Auto Workers gain recognition by the automotive industry. The last of the basic New Deal acts. The Wages and Hours Act of 1938 establishes minimum wages. It abolishes lockouts. It ends child labor for all time.
The age-long curse of child labor has been lifted. The sweatshop outlawed, and millions of wage earners released from starvation wages and excessive hours of labor. A pattern of a new order of industrial relations is definitely taking shape.
The Hyde Park Squire has traveled far since his first visit to a tenement brought the awakening of his social conscience. He has made it possible for organized labor to become a powerful political force. He has brought dignity and acceptance to the labor movement.
Our aim is the advancement of human progress by industrial progress. Ours is the duty to work for that happy consummation when bitterness and distrust shall be replaced by mutual respect.